All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Massachusetts Commission for the Blind, MCB's second virtual town hall of 2021. We are here with our partners from the MBTA, and we are here to talk about public transportation for people with disabilities. We are thankful that you could join us, and we do ask that if you are not presenting today, to please keep your video off for this presentation, and also to please remain muted during the presentations. You don't want to miss any of this great content. We do have time for questions between 1 and 1:30 this afternoon. And we have received many of your questions in advance of the meeting. Thank you for submitting those. We will get to as many as possible. And working with our partners at the MBTA, the questions that we are unable to answer during this event, we will follow up with you individually. So if you do have a question today, you will be able to reach out in the chat during that time to one of our hosts who are labeled hosts today. That includes myself, Carla Kath, also my colleague from MCB, Samantha Linden, also my colleague from MCB, host Camilla Dragos, and our other host, Evan Silver. So please reach out to us if you do have a question during that time, or if you need anything during the event today. This meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be made available by MCB on our website and via YouTube, and we will share that via email with everyone who is on our list following this meeting. We do have interpreter services as well as CART, real-time captioning services for the meeting. They are labeled as our ASL interpreters. Their names are Janice and Joan. If you would like to pin their videos in their context menus, those are the 3 dots that are available by hovering over their interpreter's thumbnail video. And to access CART real-time captioning, you can select closed captioning or show subtitle in the menu list at the bottom of your screen, or use the stream text link in the chat as well. Let me share a few shortcuts with you today. Alt-A is to mute and unmute your video. To mute and unmute your sound if you're joining via Windows device, and Alt-V to start and stop your video. If you are using a Mac, it's Command-Shift-A to mute and unmute, and also Command-Shift-B to start and stop your video. And we are so happy to have all of you with us today. I'm Carla Kath, Director of Communications at MCB, and we welcome you to another town hall event to engage with our team and our partners from the MBTA to talk all things public transportation for our community. And with that, we have a welcome from MCB's Commissioner, David D'Arcangelo. Commissioner, thank you so much for being with us and for helping us to put this event together today.
Carla, many thanks to you and our whole team for making this happen, our partners at the MBTA for joining us today, and most especially all of you joining us today virtually. Hello and welcome. It's David D'Arcangelo, Commissioner here of Mass Commission for the Blind, and welcome to our second virtual town hall of the year for our MCB community. Thank you for joining us today. We know these have been challenging times, so we appreciate everybody joining remotely, and we can't wait to be back together. We're so pleased to have you here today, whether you're joining us via Zoom, by phone, or by tele-town hall. We want to hear what you think of the news that we're talking about here today and these new ways of connecting. So please reach out to us and let us know as we work together to ensure that individuals who are blind, visually impaired, and deafblind are provided with accessible programs, services, events, and communication. As you may know, October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, a big month for us here at MCB and our community. At MCB, we constantly strive for successful employment outcomes for the people we serve who are blind and visually impaired. Employment offers a path to financial independence and the opportunity to contribute to society in meaningful ways. It provides access and increased independence for self-determination. This month, we're so pleased to offer several virtual events for our community to connect, learn, and share together. Today, we're here to discuss public transportation with our partners from the MBTA, who will share important updates about accessibility and customer technology. You will learn about the new process to obtain a free or reduced Charlie Fare card and about the new Ride Flex program. Thank you to all those who submitted your transportation-related questions prior to the event. We will try our best to address as many of them as we can during this hour, and we will make sure to follow up on all of the other questions post-event. So otherwise, we'll respond to you after the event and share your concerns with the MBTA. All voices will be heard here. We did get a great response, so I'm not sure we're going to be able to get to every question. We've done our best to encapsulate many of the common questions, and the T has done a great job, and they'll be providing answers for you today. So we know that public transportation access is essential to our community to connect, work, and thrive. We look forward to covering this topic today. Thank you again for joining us. And with that, it's an honor to introduce our Deputy Commissioner, John Oliveira. Deputy Commissioner Oliveira is responsible for managing many of the programs and services provided by MCB and has been in his current position since 2013, has been employed with MCB since 1987. So over the past 34 years, John has held various positions within the agency and knows these issues well. I trust him. We all value John and his wisdom and expertise. At this point, I'm pleased to turn it over to John. John?
Thank you, Commissioner, and good afternoon, everyone. And looking forward to this presentation today. Lots of new things happening at the MBTA regarding public transportation, and looking forward to learning and using some of those great services they're going to be talking about. As you all know, as blind folks, we need public transportation. Public transportation means that we can get around in our community, and we can go to the corner store, we can go and visit friends, don't go to doctor's appointments. It's a very important that we have access to public transportation. But along with public transportation, it's also important that we have good orientation and mobility skills. Those skills are vital to our success, because once you leave that vehicle, that bus or van, you need to use those skills to get to where you're going to go, either inside a building or in whatever location you're headed towards. So here at MCB, we're fortunate to have an experienced and skilled team that works throughout the state to provide these services to our individuals. We have 4 dedicated individuals that work with you wherever you need to go. We work at college campuses and work sites and home sites. Wherever you need it, we're there to cover the services that you need and make sure that you can navigate safely through the environment and do what you need to do. So if you are a longtime consumer of MCB, you have also worked with this department and probably very familiar with Meg Robertson. She retired recently, and I would like to welcome our new Director of Mobility, Allison Bull, and she and her team will be working very hard to make sure that those services continue. Allie comes to us from the Lawrence School System, a teacher of the visually impaired and a certified orientation and mobility specialist. So she knows children and she knows what it's like to train folks with cane, and is very, very active in lots of different groups and areas. So we're looking forward to working with Allie and making sure that she continues to grow and expand our services here at MCB. And I'm sure in the future, we'll be looking at other tools for navigating the environment. Some of you may have seen the Good Maps Explorer or outdoor app that came out recently. And that's going to be a great tool for those who are using our canes or guide dogs or remaining vision to go out and use that app on your phone so you can navigate around the environment using those skills and using technology. That's a great opportunity for us. So as we move forward in this presentation, looking forward to learning, and we'll definitely be here to answer any questions that you may have. So I'd like to turn it over now to my executive team colleague, Mary Otiato, so she can bring up some new updates here at MCB.
Good morning, and thank you, John, for the wonderful update that you have. And for everybody else, thank you for joining us. And I wanted to say happy Thursday, but somebody reminded me this morning it's actually happy Friday Eve. So maybe something we can look for at the end of the day. Before I start, I want to thank the MBTA for our continued collaboration. They've been very responsive and are quick to contact the Central Registration Unit when they have a question. And over the summer, we've had some very successful activities involving students in the Blind Access Pass. So the actual MCB Central Registration updates, certificates of blindness is at the top. As you may be aware, we mass mailed 24,000 certificate of blindness to our registered consumers age 18 plus. These are our consumers who are already registered at MCB by June 30th, 2021. And for those who are registered after June 30th, some of them have received some, but some are still coming through. So you will be receiving your certificates. However, despite the mass mailing, we still had a few individuals who did not receive their certificates, and we had to reprint them. A little investigation showed that some of those certificates came back as undelivered because the address was not correct, or the person did not live where the certificate went. So I would like to urge you to please get in contact with the Mass Commission for the Blind if you have had a change in address or any of the other changes going on, because the only address we have on file is the one we get from the eye report, and that's from your doctor. So things happen between when we get that eye report and when we send the certificate of blindness. So please let us know if your address has changed, and you can do so by either calling our MCB regular line or call the blindness registry line at 617-626-7415. And when you do call that number, please leave your name, date of birth, and the address, then phone number, so that we can call you back if we need to verify information. That would help with the next rollout. Also, with the certificates, because we had to mass mail, print them in mass mail, we used an application number, which is different from what some of you are used to, a registration number. Please know that this information is really internal to MCB, and nobody else would be able to tell the difference between an application number and a registration number. So if you did see a different number, that certificate is still valid and nothing has changed. At the same time, the improvement to the certificate ensures that really that certificate does not expire. So you're free to use it, make copies as you need, and you may use it towards throughout the year. So I just wanted to give you that update on the certificate, and a small update on the MCB IDs. We've had a backlog, and I'm sure some of you have been frustrated with how long you've been waiting, and we apologize that I apologize for that. We have since hired an individual who is an amazing person. She's been really just getting all the backlog done. So right now, if you have a 2-week wait, or if you are still waiting for a certificate or for your MCB ID, please reach out again to Blindness Registry 617-626-7415. 7415, and we are going to get that out to you as soon as possible. And right now we take the application and the photo, and we have the virtual blindness registry. If you are able, it's a Zoom account where you just go click on and come on. We are able to take your information on the blindness registry, on the VBR, virtual blindness registry, and also take your picture and get your ID done. The times for the virtual blindness registry is Monday through Friday from 10 to 1. And so I'm done with my updates, but I wanted to put in a plug that there is a poll out there that we were trying to do for the MCB blindness registry, just to get an idea of how many individuals are satisfied or not satisfied with how we're handling our MCB COBs, certificates of blindness, and MCB IDs. And hopefully that is going to give us a measure going forward. So the number one question is, how satisfied are you with the certificate of blindness process from MCB? And either satisfied or not satisfied. And then the number two question is, how satisfied are you with the blindness ID process with MCB? And you're either satisfied or not satisfied. And please participate in the poll, because that is going to give us a gauge of where we are. I know we have a ways to go, but it will be nice to get a pulse on where we are right now. And with that, thank you very much. Back to you, Carla.
All right, thank you, Mary, and thank you to everyone that participated in our poll today. We did have participants who also participated via phone, and if they are still taking the poll, number one is satisfied. If you press 1 on your phone keypad, if you press 2, that is unsatisfied. And to Mary's point, that does help us as we are optimizing our services in the central registration, our blindness registry unit at MCB. So thank you very much. We are collecting that information, and it will help us optimize our processes as we move forward. Commissioner D'Arcangelo, I believe you had a few words as we introduce our MBTA team.
Yes, Mary, thank you and your team for the central registry. We recognize there's some challenges there, but it's a result of MCB is seeing great volume. I mean, you've probably gotten great input from people about our What's Your Vision campaign. So thank you for your patience as we're experiencing quite a bit of success and quite a bit of volume. So we will be sure to get to everybody. So just let us know how best we can help you. But I'm very pleased to introduce the leader of the MBTA's accessibility efforts. So thank you again, Mary and Carla, I appreciate that. I'd like to introduce you to Laura Brailsford. Laura is the Assistant General Manager of System-Wide Accessibility at the MBTA. Laura joined the MBTA in 2007 as part of the newly formed Department of System-Wide Accessibility. Since that time, she has worked to advance the MBTA's mission of becoming the global model for accessible public transportation. She and her dedicated system-wide accessibility team have spearheaded a number of major accessibility initiatives, including the development of an internal monitoring program, a first ever hands-on training for frontline staff, which is responding to customers with disabilities during emergencies, and the development of the Plan for Accessible Transit Infrastructure, a roadmap for making the system fully accessible. Her top priority, however, is to ensure that people with disabilities, employees, as well as riders, have a voice in the decision-making process at the MBTA. Laura, thank you so much for your leadership, making your team available here today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Commissioner, thank you so much. Again, thank you to you and your team for organizing this afternoon's event and for inviting us to participate. And for everyone joining, it looks like we have almost 200 people here today, which is pretty amazing. Before I talk about any initiatives, I just wanted to to explain that my team and I, we really focus on the accessibility of our fixed route system. So that's our buses, our trains, our website, sort of all of the core aspects of our service outside of paratransit. I'm lucky enough to be joined by several of my colleagues who are going to be telling you about some pretty excited initiatives we have underway. And I'm also joined by my colleagues from the ride who are going to be telling you about some important updates. Before I turn over the mic, I do want to just let you know about three significant initiatives we've been working on agency-wide. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So you likely have heard that the MBTA, that we are in the process of rolling out brand new orange line vehicles, as well as brand new red line vehicles. What you might not know is the process that went into designing them focused heavily on implementing new accessibility features and best practices. So during the design phase, my team, along with a group of riders with disabilities, worked with the project team to really ensure that these vehicles would be our most accessible ever. Our new, the new orange line trains that you will get to experience on our system, you'll notice they've got improved color contrast throughout. There's an enhanced, more reliable PA and visual messaging system. We have door locator tones now outside the doors to help people find their way to open doors. We have tactile braille signage throughout the train, including car numbers. So if you need to report an issue or an incident on the train, that information is available. And we have new priority seating signage throughout the train. Also, the doors on these trains are the widest ever. So even if one door leaf should fail and not open, somebody using a wheelchair, traveling with a mobility device or a stroller will still be able to safely get in and out of the train. So we are really excited to see these coming online over the next several months. Next slide. Another important initiative that we've been working closely with our colleagues in operations on is a full refresh of all of our trainings for frontline staff in our bus and subway divisions. So we've always had pretty comprehensive accessibility training in place for frontline staff, but earlier this year, late last year, we worked together to do a full refresh of each. So the trainings are full days. There's a hands-on portion as well as a classroom portion. And during this refresh, we made to incorporate changes based on feedback from bus operators, subway motor persons, and most importantly, our riders. We are also really excited that this time around we have a module specifically on responding to riders during emergencies, which is really was sort of a new field with respect to accessibility and inclusion. There's not a ton of guidance or best practices out there, so we're excited to be developing those as we move forward. Next slide. And finally, just wanted to share with you a program that you might not be aware of, but has been in place for a while. And from my perspective, has been one of the programs that has helped drive the most significant change around accessibility at the T. And that is our internal accessibility monitoring program. So this is a program that is overseen by my team. And essentially it is a secret shopper program for accessibility and people with disabilities. We have roughly 20 part-time monitors who are paired up and sent out in teams to evaluate pretty much every aspect of our system, from the bus service to the ferry service to the path of travel in our stations. They are equipped with very, very extensive Google Forms, and we use the data they collect to do a couple of things. One, to get a quick snapshot of how we are doing with respect to providing accessible service. And two, to be able to quickly respond to any incidents that go awry. So if they run into a broken accessible fare gate, or if they experience a situation where an operator doesn't provide assistance as required, we are able to respond immediately and take care of those issues before a rider experiences them. We actually have a current focus right now on subway stop announcements. Data that we were collecting before COVID really showed on unacceptable issues with the reliability of our announcements on our red line. So we are working very hard right now to collect enough data to work with our maintenance teams to understand really what's causing those issues so they can be resolved. Jennifer, who you're gonna hear from a little bit later, is gonna talk to you about how you may get involved and be in touch with us. And certainly if you are interested in learning more about the monitoring program, we would love to hear from you. All right, I am now going to turn it over to one of my colleagues who we are lucky enough to get to work with him and his team on a regular basis. And that is Curtis Sumeranian, who is the director of the digital ride from our customer technology department. Curdy.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you everyone who's joined. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I get to tell you about some of the newer and maybe more exciting things that we are doing. So I'm very excited to do that. I'm going to tell you about 6 technology-driven projects that we're working on in the customer technology department. We work very closely with Laura Brailsford and her team in system-wide accessibility. Because there's sort of a lot of content here, I'm going to, and a lot of speakers, a lot more to talk about. I'm going to try and tell you just a little bit about each of these 6 initiatives, sort of how it came about, what we're hoping to achieve, and when you can expect to hear more from us. So first up, something we are currently working on is to install new large format digital signage in our accessible station lobbies. So something we've heard again and again from riders is that they want more information about the status of the system and the service before they've paid their fare. And it turns out that we, the MBTA, actually have a lot more information about delays, about disruptions, about out of service elevators, but historically have not had a way to provide that information to riders in a consistent way in every station. So these screens mark our ability to finally do so. Starting in probably December, we're going to turn these screens on in 8 stations, and we hope to roll them out system-wide. So every accessible lobby of every rapid transit station would have these screens with many new types of information. But in our case, the thing that we're most excited about, I think, is the real-time snapshot of which elevators are currently in or out of service. The idea being that the MBTA maintains about 180, 185 different elevators. Many are out of service either for full-scale replacements or ongoing maintenance at any given point, and that's a difficult challenge for riders to navigate. One of the other features of these screens is that they will include a button to generate an audio message. So here, the ways that you can get involved with this, first sign up for SWA's updates to hear about when these new screens will go live. Please feel free to email us directly in Customer Technology to tell us about the kinds of information that you think would help support your trips on the T. And finally, we in customer technology actually are building a group of research participants to help us improve the technology tools that we develop. So if you would like, in this case, to help us craft the audio experience that will accompany this digital signage, please do sign up for that. I'm going to provide you sort of contact information on how to sign up at the end of my presentation. So that's the first project. Next slide, please.
Excuse me, my system cut me off. Can you another stop? Please repeat from the.
Hello, this is Carla Katz, Director of Communications from MCB. Please remain muted during our presentations. We will get to questions at 1 o'clock, and we hope that you will join us then. We are recording this event, so if you miss the first part of Cardi's presentation, we will share that following. Cardi?
Okay, muted.
Thank you.
Thank you, and my apologies if I am speaking too quickly. I will try. I get when I'm presenting, I get a little nervous and maybe speak too quickly. So my apologies. The next project that I want to tell you a little bit about is something we're calling elevator screens. So the same problem, riders who depend on our elevators are really frustrated with how they have to sort of navigate outages. And we thought that rather than putting up and taking down paper notices several times a day, which is hugely burdensome for our operations department, we thought, what if we put digital signage at elevator entrances dedicated entirely to telling riders about elevators that are currently out of service and alternative paths of travel. So this is a pilot that we're launching again, probably in November or December. We will install these screens in 2 stations at every elevator entrance. And our ability to sort of scale this up will depend in large part on whether this is a useful way to solve this problem for riders. So we hope to get a lot of feedback from folks in this community and in other sort of accessibility related communities on this pilot project. Ways to get involved in this one. First, please do sign up for SWA's updates to hear when this pilot goes live. When it is live, we will have feedback mechanisms and we'll hope to get your feedback on how helpful or useful this concept is. And again, these screens will have an audio message accompanying them. And if you do want to help us sort of get that right, please do sign up to be a research participant with the Customer Technology Department. Next slide. So building on the 2 projects that I just mentioned, as digital signage proliferates on our system, we have wanted to hold ourselves accountable to a standard of 2-way audio and visual equivalence that supports riders of all abilities. So we've drafted a policy. We're currently sort of reworking it internally based on what we know about digital signage technology, the actual sort of technology itself, based on what we've learned from transit agency peers, and also what we've heard from riders so far. When we are ready, we're going to post this on our website, and we would love your feedback on this policy. So ways that you can get involved with this, again, sign up for SWA's email updates, and you will hear when this policy is available on our website. And once it is, we will have a way to get your feedback on it. Next slide, please. So here's another one that we're really excited about. We know that dirty elevators are a long-standing rider frustration. We have many people in many departments who work very hard to keep our elevators clean. And one of them is sort of this new on-demand cleaning contract that other people on this call could tell you more about. We now have a relatively promising technology to try too. So we piloted a sensor that is in the elevator cab that automatically detects the presence of urine and of a cleaning solution and sends us a notification. We did a proof of concept at South Station in downtown Boston earlier this summer that was very successful. So we are now going to install 3 of these sensors in 3 different elevators in downtown stations. And if this technology proves to be a reliable and accurate way to detect the presence of urine in our elevators, we are very open to scaling this up to help keep our elevators cleaner. So again, ways that you can get involved, please subscribe to System-Wide Accessibility's email updates, and you will hear about when this pilot begins. Next slide, please. Here is another exciting one, although this one is a little bit earlier in our sort of conception of it. So many of you here might be familiar with the app called Blindways. So in 2016, the Perkins School for the Blind launched an app to help blind and low vision riders solve what they called the last 30 feet problem. The idea was GPS can help you only to within about 30 or 50 feet, but is not a very high precision technology to help you navigate to the specific pole at which you need to be waiting for the bus driver to see you. We think that there might be a new technology. It's called ultra wideband technology. It's in the most recent iPhone and Android iPhone models, as well as many Android, as well as many smartphones that run the Android operating system. We think that might be a better and more scalable way to solve this problem for folks who are blind or low vision. We're currently in the early stages of investigating this. We're trying to raise money and develop sort of relationships with the right stakeholders to hopefully put together a proof of concept to see if we could resurrect this in a sort of more scalable and sustainable way. But again, this is sort of an early stage concept. So if you would like, so one way you can get involved here is if this is an interesting or exciting concept to you, we are going to be looking at some point for research participants with whom we can test this new technology. So you should please sign up to be a research participant with the Customer Technology Department. Next slide. My last project here to tell you about, in 2019, we did a series of interviews and ride-alongs with some blind and low vision riders who were sort of generous enough to let us ride the T alongside them. And one of the things we heard was that confidently navigating an unfamiliar indoor environment was one of their biggest barriers to taking unfamiliar trips on the T. So we are currently hiring a project manager to help launch a pilot to learn from the blind community about whether any of the existing technology solutions, one of them was mentioned earlier on this call, Good Maps. We want to know whether any of the existing technology solutions stands out above all the others. There are many different technology companies that purport to solve this problem for blind and low vision people in a number of different ways that require differing amounts of sort of cost and sort of support from the MBTA, given that it's our infrastructure. So we would love to get this off the ground, to bring together riders, bring together a bunch of different technology providers to see if this is a problem that the MBTA can help solve. If you do want to get involved, again, you can subscribe to System-Wide Accessibility's email updates. We'll tell you when this pilot launches. Please email us directly if there's a technology that you use that you think the MBTA or customer technology should know about. And again, if you would like to be a research participant, please do sign up with us. So here's our contact information. If you want to email SWA, that's swa@mbta.com. If you want to reach out to us directly in customer technology, that's customertech@mbta.com. And if you do want to sign up to help us improve the tools and technology that you use when you ride the MBTA, please sign up at mbta.com/techfeedback. Thank you very much for your time. I will pass it over to Katie and Emily.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Katie Kalugan, and I work at the T, and specifically my job is focused on increasing access to our reduced fare programs, including the Blind Access Charlie card. I have my colleague, Emily Balcom, with me. She's the product manager for some of the work I'm excited to tell you all about. Next slide, please. Something that the T is working on is something we're calling the reduced fare system. So the purpose of the system is to create one source of truth for the intake and administration of our free and reduced fare programs, including the Blind Access Charlie card. As I'm sure many of you are aware, there is not an online application for the Blind Access Charlie card, and that is something this reduced fare system will eventually create. But these bullet points focus on what the reduced fare system will do, which is to centralize and securely store data and documents. It'll also utilize data and reporting to support our decision-making. It'll also include API and data connections to other systems. So later on, we'll kind of talk about what that could look like in partnership with MCB. It'll also be used through the completion of fare transformation, which is the MBTA's transition into a new fare collection system a couple of years from now. And so what that means for riders is that we will be providing an accessible and intuitive digital application with self-service options, meaning the ability to complete an application online. It'll also include application submission and status notifications. In other words, being able to receive an email that says, you've successfully completed your application, and then receive, emails or texts saying, your status was just reviewed, you were approved, you were denied for these types of reasons. And for our program administrators, both internally and externally, being able to provide them a dashboard to review applications that were submitted, process them for both eligibility and fulfillment. So fulfillment meaning getting those cards into the hands of riders. And so if we look at the launch order to the right there, we, as of this Monday, launched an online application for our Youth Pass program, which serves low-income riders between the ages of 18 and 25, which we're extremely excited about and have already seen a high volume of applications. We also plan to launch our next iteration of the Senior Charlie card. Up next would be the Blind Access Pass, and then following that would be the TAP program. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so with this reduced fare system, we will be hiring a third-party vendor for an accessibility audit, which we just completed, and Emily could even speak more about, as well as security penetration testing, which was also completed. And for each phase of the launch, for each program, we will be conducting interviews with both users, riders themselves, our admins, to understand what are some of the challenges currently with the application processes, as well as, what are their expectations for a new online application. We want to understand the challenges to, of course, be able to inform whatever we put out into the world for our riders, with the best interest of our riders in mind. Also being able to answer any questions that they have about the application process itself, and figuring out all the other ways that we can better support our riders throughout the entire process. Next slide. The goal of the reduced fare system and what we're thinking is generally making it easier to apply for reduced fare programs. And so, the idea is that developing these secure online reduced fare applications will make it easier to apply for those programs, Senior TAP, Blind Access, and the Youth Pass. And so the screenshot to the right is of the Senior Charlie card homepage. And we have launched a pilot online application for the Senior Charlie card. And this just shows the couple of ways that seniors can go onto our website, find the online application, and submit it online. There's also an opportunity for our riders to schedule an appointment if they wanted to come into the Charlie Card store at Downtown Crossing to apply in person. They can still do that. They can also just book a time to have some dedicated time with our customer service reps to complete that process. Next slide. So this is just a slide on potentially what the online application process could be like for folks applying for the Blind Access Charlie card. Just being able to upload your proof of identity. So that's usually, a valid government issued ID, such as a driver's license, passport, or a state ID. The second would be the ability to upload a picture of yourself, a clear picture of yourself, versus having to go to the Charlie Card store at Downtown Crossing to have your photo taken. And then the third would be uploading your eligibility documentation. And so that's usually a Massachusetts Commission for the Blind ID card and some other certificate of blindness. Again, we know that having to submit those in person can be a hassle. So, ideally being able to upload all that documentation into one as part of your application. Next slide. So where we are now and what's next, again, we just launched our Youth Pass online application as of this Monday. We're super excited about that. And we're now moving on to the design and feedback for our senior Charlie Card program, followed by the Blind Access Charlie Card. The idea is that we hope to engage our stakeholders throughout. We've already been in discussions with the Mass Commission for the Blind about what's coming and how they can be involved and how we can gather feedback, especially from riders themselves. So stay tuned for volunteer opportunities to provide your feedback. And we also have this forum for our external stakeholders with any ideas, feedback, and questions that they may have. Just know that we are just getting started on this process, and research is super important because we do want to make sure that whatever we put out there is accessible and usable by all of our riders. Awesome. I will let my colleague Emily jump in to explain this Youth Pass online application.
Thanks, Katie. So on the screen, we have some screenshots of what the Youth Pass application looks like that is currently live on our website. If you have any youth in your life who are low income, we recommend sending them our way so we can get them signed up. But the application itself for Youth Pass, as Katie mentioned, we set it through penetration security testing. What that means is a good check to the team really cares about safeguarding your information, your personal information. And we know there's some sensitive documents here that you wouldn't want anyone else to see except the person who's processing your application. So we're really excited for this platform because of its security features that you don't need to worry about that. And we're making sure only the people who need access to your file can see it. And it can't be hacked by people with bad intent. So that's really exciting. We also have been working with WGBH, who have an accessibility team and that consulting team that has deeply reviewed our software and helped us understand how to make this accessible for users of all abilities with different cognitive needs and to work with all the different major screen readers devices. So all that, they are teaching us how to do this and testing this for us and making sure that we're getting that right. So we're really excited to bring you something to look at, which has already gone through that process, and you can help us further fine tune it because we want to make this really easy experience. So the first page just kind of talks about what is required, the eligibility guidelines that Katie mentioned before. There's a link so that you could go and review that if you needed to. We also talk through what the required documents are and kind of set the expectations before you begin to complete the application. Next slide. Then we have something that we call the eligibility checker. The Youth Pass form is a little bit more complex about who can apply and who's qualified, but we want to give our users real-time feedback so that if they are too old for the program, we tell them right away before they give us any of their sensitive information. So not only are we saying, oh, you're too old, but here's another resource for you, or if your school has a program, you could qualify through that. So we're trying to give people feedback immediately to help serve them best without putting an extra administrative burden on our city partners to process applications that wouldn't be accepted anyway. So we love that this technology can help support both our users of the general public and our staff. And the application also has error messages built into it, which we are also making sure are accessible to give you real-time feedback as you complete the form. If the format of your birth date wasn't correct, or if you're missing a digit on your zip code or something like that. we're going to try to give you that information so that you can submit the form the first time with everything you need to be ready to be accepted to the program. Next slide. Then we ask for your address and contact information, and that is so that we can mail you a card. So that kind of just asks for those details. And if your home address is different than your mailing address, you can choose no, that they're not the same, and provide both options for us. Okay, next slide. We do have part of the application process where we ask you to upload a photo of your documentation. And so you could do that by taking a picture with a cell phone or a scanner and selecting it from your desktop, however you like to do that. And that's all we need. That can be uploaded into the system, and we'll review it and determine eligibility that way. Next slide. And as Katie mentioned earlier, we think that's really important to communicate throughout the process how your application is progressing. So after you hit submit, you will see something on the screen that says you've submitted and give you contact information for who you would need to get more help from if you had any questions. But we would also send you an email and set expectations of how quickly you can expect to hear from us. And throughout the process, you'll get those email notifications to tell you if there's any problems. You can go back in and correct your application, or that it's been approved and it'll be shipped and all that good stuff, so you can know when to expect your card in the mail. Next. And as Katie was mentioned, we are really excited to work with MCB and try to figure out how do we make this even easier. Is there information they have in their system that already is what we're looking for, that we could maybe use the magic of APIs, which is a type of technology of, if you're not familiar, think of it as the computers talking to each other without you having to do anything. So that's something that we're looking into right in the coming months to hopefully make this really easy for you to get access or to public transit and the benefits that you deserve. So the MCB staff is also super awesome, as you know, and they're going to be offering some on-site support. If you need to have anything, assistance completing this application, they can walk you through it. And we're really excited to be rolling this out, and we'll be in touch closer to the date with details to get involved. So thank you so much.
And we are passing the mic along to our colleague Mahor at the ride.
Thank you, Katie. All right, everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So what I would like to present is just an overview of our on-demand pilot program, the Ride Flex. We're very excited to share with you about that program and kind of go over some of the features of the program. I also want to give an update on the new upcoming mobility center for the ride. That's another exciting news that we have for everyone. So I'll start with the on-demand pilot program. That is a strong kind of public-private partnership that was launched in 2016 between the MBTA and Uber and Lyft companies. And the goal was to create a more reliable transportation system in the Commonwealth. Over the past few years, the pilot has been very successful to increase mobility for our customers and improve their overall experience. Some of the amazing stories that we've heard from our participants really speak to the pilot's flexibility, speed, cost, and of course, convenience that it has created for our customers. With our pilot program, all of our customers have access to subsidized trips with Uber and Lyft, and that does not require any advanced scheduling and can be booked at any time. Anybody who's already a ride user can request to sign up for the program. The sign-up sheet is available on the ride's website. It's really a simple, kind of user-friendly sheet that asks for the customer's contact information, their ride ID, and then provides the customer with the option to choose Uber, Lyft, or both vendors. Once the customer is signed up for the provider, they would be able to request the trip with that provider at any time and take trips anywhere in the ride service area. Both of our vendors, both Uber and Lyft, their applications are screen reader compliant and have the option to provide wheelchair accessible vehicles to our customers. As far as the number of trips that our customers will have on the RideFlex program, there is a monthly allocation of subsidized trips, and that is something that will automatically pop up on the screen. All of our participants have the option to choose the RideFlex for all of their trips or only some of their trips. So whatever that works best for the customer, they would have that flexibility to choose when and how they want to use their monthly allocation. In July 2021, so last summer, we relaunched our on-demand pilot program, and we made a couple changes based on really the lessons learned from the past several years. So now we have two new features with our RideFlex program. One of them is a call-in feature for our customers, and this is not something that we had before. So this option really provides access to all of our customers, regardless of whether they have smartphones or tablets, and it allows them to book trips with the RideFlex. So this is a feature that we are excited about, and it really broadened accessibility for our customers to be able to book their trips regardless of what technology they have. This is a feature that's already live for our Lyft customers and will soon to be available for all our Uber customers as well. And secondly, the second feature of the program that is new to the pilot, it's about the customers that have track scheduled trips. So for any customers who have opted into the pilot program, now there's a flexibility to assign their track scheduled trips to their provider of choice. And this is a feature that we're very excited about because it enhances the customer's experience by preventing a trip to become a late trip when the ride vehicle is running late. So it allows the trips that the customers book through the call center to be served by Uber, Lyft, or both vendors, and kind of prevents any on-time performance issues or any service issues that the customer might face. Since the relaunch of the pilot, we have more than 4,500 signups. And last September's ridership was actually our highest ridership. We had close to 30,000 trips on the RideFlex program. We're very proud to have a strong, successful partnership with both Uber and Lyft companies, and we will continuously look to add more providers to our mix to give our customers even more options to access on-demand trips. I'm also excited to announce that the ride is partnering with System-Wide Accessibility to create a mobility center, which will combine the paratransit eligibility process with other mobility management offerings for the MBTA. By working together, we believe that we can improve, kind of holistically serve our customers and improve the services that we're offering by offering a unified process to access a comprehensive set of accessibility services. We believe that this approach will hopefully empower our customers by providing more information about their options and all the available mobility tools. As of right now, we are in the process of procuring an operator for the mobility center. So we're kind of in the middle of a procurement, and we plan to launch in June 2022. That is my presentation for the group. I believe up next, we have Erie Solomon, the Rider Transportation Access Group's facilitator. Thank you.
Thank you. As stated, my name is Erie Solomon. I use they, them, theirs pronouns, and I am RTAG's community organizer and facilitator. RTAG, which is the Riders Transportation Access Group, is a consumer organization that provides individuals with disabilities as well as seniors the opportunity to advise the MBTA on matters affecting their transportation access and experience. If you'd like to be involved with RTAG or just have any questions, please do feel free to email me. My email, which will also be put in the chat, is esolomon@bostoncil.org. Our next meeting is also on Tuesday, November 23rd at 2 p.m. And I would love to have as many folks as would like to be there present. So please do feel free to reach out to me, ask any questions. We can set up a time to talk individually. And I'm looking forward to working with you in that capacity. So next up is Jennifer Ross, who is the Customer Engagement Coordinator at the Department of System-Wide Accessibility.
Hi, Jennifer. This is Carla Kath from MCB. I believe you're muted, but we do see you there. So we are connecting with you. Just one moment. There we are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Jennifer.
Excellent. Thank you, Carla, and thank you, Erie. So we want to hear from you, whether you have a suggestion, an inquiry, a commendation, a complaint, or as I like to reframe it, an opportunity for us to make an improvement. So if you have a complaint regarding either the ride or the fixed route, you can call customer service. Their main number is 617-222-3200. If you'd like to submit your complaint online, you can go to mbta.com/customer service. When you submit a complaint, please include as much detail as you can. The correct date, time, mode, route, alighting point, boarding point, just so we can properly identify the operator, the equipment, or the station accessibility so that we can fix it. If you're comfortable, you can tell the agent that you're a person with a disability or that it's an accessibility complaint, prompting them to put it to the right area. When complaints come to us, it may take up to 30 days to resolve and get a response as we conduct a full investigation. So thank you in advance for your patience. Like Cardi said many times, if you'd like to sign up for our email updates, go to mbta.com/SWA sign up. I think it's time for me to turn it back over to Carla since we have to get to our Q&A. But I want to thank my MBTA team for joining us today. I'm so privileged to be able to work with all of them as well as my SWA teammates. And thank you so much to the MCB for having us today. Carla?
Thank you so much, Jennifer, to you and the team from the MBTA for being here with us. I know we had a lot of information to share with our participants today, and we were fast and furious trying to share those links and email addresses in the chat, but also wanted to let everyone know that all of that information is available also on our website, and that's at www.mass.gov/MCB. All of those links, this presentation that was shared today, as well as the email addresses, that is again, all available on our website at mass.gov/MCB. So with that, I've seen several hands raised. I know many of you have been submitting your questions via the chat to myself and to our host team from MCB today. So we'll get to as many of those questions as we can, and we're going to prioritize the ones that were submitted previously. So we have our team on standby from MCB and the MBTA to answer those questions. But if you do have additional questions, submit them via the chat, or if you're joining us via Teletown Hall, that is our phone opt-in notification system. You press 0 on your phone keypad, and we have an MCB screener who will take your question and share that with us as well. So we're happy that everyone can engage and interact, share their questions. All right, if the MCB and MBTA team could be on standby to mute and unmute and to share your videos, I will just start with the questions here. And the first question is for Mahor from the ride. Mahor, you are very popular today with questions, so we'll begin with you. Will the Lyft and Uber pilot program expand to more than 2 rides a month? That seems to be a common question.
Yes, thank you, Carla. That's a good question. So the monthly trip allocations that we have, those are based on our customers' ride usage. But if you're new to the pilot, or if you only take occasional trips, then you will start with 2 trips. Obviously, the MBTA will review the trip allocations every 6 months, and we have a review process for that. So there's always a possibility of those being adjusted based on your route usage. And if it is adjusted, then we'll make sure to communicate that to our customers. One thing about the monthly trip allocations that's important to highlight is that those will not roll over. So your monthly trip allocation for each month can only be applied to the number of trips that you're taking during that month. Obviously, once you have used all your allocated trips, you would still be able to use the Ride Flex program, but it will not be subsidized.
Okay, thank you so much, Mahor. That was a common question, and we appreciate you taking the time to answer that for us today. All right, and we have another question here, and seems to also be a common theme for much of our community who's outside of the Boston metro area. So Laura, I believe from the MBTA may be able to answer that question. Says, hi there, my question is about visually impaired individuals living outside of the Boston metro area who are facing the prospect of giving up their driver's licenses for the first time. Are there ride options or subsidy programs available for people outside of major towns where public transportation is not an option? Laura or Mahor? Yeah, Laura?
Yeah.
I think this one, you could take this one if you'd like.
Okay, that is a great question. So we there are a number of resources for those folks throughout the Commonwealth who do not live near the Boston area and aren't lucky enough to be able to leverage the MBTA services. The first thing I would mention is a website database that is called Ride Match. We can get that link to you. That is basically an inventory of all sorts of accessible options throughout the state, from councils on aging to private entities to local public transit providers. This is like a one-stop shop of what transit options, accessible transit options might be available in your area. The second thing I would say is that the entire Commonwealth is generally covered by smaller regional transit authorities. And although they might not have, a robust subway or commuter rail network, they often have local bus service. Many of those RTAs offer travel training. So we'd be happy to connect people to those RTA trainers if they're interested. And then the last thing I would say is specifically for those who might be giving up their license. For the past few years, my team's been working to partner with the RMV on some education and resources for those drivers out there who realize it's time to stop driving as much and to get them comfortable with what public transit has to option. The RMV pulled together a really great video webinar, which actually is available on our website. If you go to mbta.com/accessibility, it's under our travel training page. So I would check that out as well for some additional resources.
All right, thank you so much, Laura. And I know, I think you mentioned the RTA flyer that you also shared with us with the contact information for all of the regional authorities that are out there. So if you do have need that contact information, that's available on our website too, with the information from this meeting. and that's at mass.gov/MCB. And again, that includes information for all of the regional transit authorities. So thank you so much, Laura. And then I also just wanted to give a shout out. We're getting a lot of comments in the chat. So thank you everyone for sharing there. Someone did write, I called the Access Center and I got my MBTA access card in only a few days. Good work, MBTA. So I had to share that as well, along with all of the questions that you guys are fielding. Mahor, I believe this one is also for the ride. So let's see here, I'll read this one to you. Someone has been having issues with Lyft for some time now because of overage charges. When they signed up for the Ride Flex program, they were not told about the charges. They take public transportation because they cannot afford other options. Can the MBTA make arrangements with these rideshare companies? It kind of says, I think it's really about fare and service issues with Lyft, if you could address that.
Yeah, so what I would say generally with those kind of issues, if you are experiencing a fare or service related issue with either Lyft or Uber, I strongly suggest to everyone to directly contact those companies for resolution. And if the issues is still not resolved, then make sure you contact the MBTA's customer support and share as much detail as you can so we can investigate. We receive all those complaints and we make sure we do our due diligence to investigate, especially if you have not heard from either of those companies after contacting them. But I would say that regarding the fares, there is a $3 copay that the customer would have to pay if it's an on-demand trip. And then the MBTA subsidizes up to $40 for each trip. And if the cost goes over the $43, then the remaining would still be a responsibility that the customer would have. And if the trip is a track scheduled trip that gets shifted to one of the flex providers, then that is no different than any other ride trip. So it would just be basically the regular ride fare that the customer would be responsible for.
Okay, thank you, Mahor. That's good advice for a number of the questions that we had today about contacting Uber and Lyft directly with those fare questions, and then contacting the MBTA, the team and customer support. The link is in the chat, www.mbta.com/customer/support. All right. Great, thank you. And then someone is asking for if there is a support network of others who could share ideas and share questions and answers and experiences. Is Erie here, I believe, from RTAG?
Yep. So hello, my name's Erie. Again, I think RTAG would be a great source for this, and we would love to have you there. So please do feel free to reach out to me. My email was put in the chat. If we can maybe put it there one more time, that would be great. And I look forward to hearing from you and getting to know you and seeing how we can connect you with the RTAG group and other consumers.
All right, thank you, Erie. That's great to hear that there is that network available. We appreciate you sharing and sharing your email address as well. That is in the chat. It's esolomon@bostoncil.org. Thank you so much. All right, and we do have another question. There is a question about IRA and the MBTA. And Jennifer, are you with us? Let's see, there we are. Okay, Jennifer, the MBTA partnered with IRA in 2019 to provide free IRA along the system, the MBTA. Someone found it really beneficial while navigating the T. Are you planning to bring IRA back again?
Great question. So the MBTA was so excited to be the first transportation agency in the country to partner with IRA for this 9-month pilot. And I'm really happy to hear that you found it beneficial. As my colleague Cardi said, system-wide accessibility and customer technology are looking at so many different solutions for wayfinding to help folks that are our customers that are blind or have low vision. So we've gathered the data from that pilot. We're going to look at all the options. We realize one size does not fit all, that IRA might be a great solution for some things, but we'll be making
Your
decisions.
sound
And at the moment, we have no plans to bring back IRA, but the door isn't closed. We enjoyed our partnership with them very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. We know many of our consumers do use that service, so that is a really great question. And I do ask that everyone please mute and share your questions via the chat, via your MCB counselor, via our 1-800 number, or you can email mcbinfo@mass.gov at any time with your question. If you're joining us via Teletown Hall, our screeners are also sending over questions from those that joined via phone. So please continue to send those along. And we have another question here. And this is really about eligibility for MCB services. So if our MCB team is available, that would be great for this next question. Massachusetts residents with vision of 20/80 or worse lose their right to drive in Massachusetts, but they do not qualify for services available to the legally blind unless their vision is 20/200 or worse. The loss of driving can have an immediate and negative impact on one's ability to obtain and keep employment. In my case, the jobs available in my field were not accessible via public transportation, and I spent many months unemployed. Is the MBTA or another state agency considering a way to help individuals like myself maintain employment?
Yes, Carla, I
Commissioner.
can answer that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can you turn my, oh, there you go. Somebody can turn my video on. All right, there it is. So yes, hi. This is a great question. This is something that's come up many times over the years. The first thing would be that all of our consumers are unique. And really, medical determination should be made by eye care providers, optometrists, ophthalmologists. There's some specifics there, but in the law, it says 2200 or the 10-degree field of radius or a progressive eye condition. All of these things, we need to work on a case-by-case basis with the consumer, with their medical providers to determine if it's appropriate that they become a consumer of MCB. So what I would say is contact us. Let's have that dialogue. We want to work on that for you. Now, generally, if you're 20/80 and it's not appropriate to be an MCB consumer, you can be followed by our sister agency, MRC, Massachusetts Rehabilitation Commission. Additionally, there's employment services provided by the whole Mass Hire Network. And then really, again, contact us so we can apprise you of how best to be able to leverage these programs and services. So we recognize there's a little bit of a challenge with people, quote unquote, like caught in the middle. And that's historically been a challenge. We try to address it through the ways that I mentioned. So I hope that's helpful. We don't want anybody to go without services. We want to try to get people on the path to employment. That's a big part of our mission here. So what I would say is reach out, let's have a dialogue and figure out how best to be able to get you programs and services.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. We did also add in the chat a link to our partners at MRC, Mass Rehabilitation Commission, like the Commissioner mentioned. So please be on the lookout for that. All right, and we have another question here. Back to the ride, Mahor. I believe this one is for you. And we will share that as well. It says, in theory, I love the partnership between the ride and rideshare companies. In practice, Uber and Lyft drivers frequently retaliate against, refuse, or discriminate against guide and service dog handlers. Says that we call in complaints about the individual drivers, but it's a systemic problem and happens constantly. Do you have any response to that for individuals with service dogs or guide dogs?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm sorry for anyone who has experienced that. We have a zero tolerance policy for rejection of service animals. We take this matter very, very seriously. We investigate every complaint that we get related to this. So what I, again, would like to ask everyone, anybody who has been denied service because of this issue, please do file a complaint, report all the details so that we can investigate and address the issue. But internally, the policy for both us and our partners, we have a zero tolerance policy for this matter.
All right, thank you, Mahur.
Yeah.
And Mahur, to file that complaint, what is that information again, and we will provide it?
Yes, so MBTA's customer support again. So it will be the same number that we've shared in the chat, the 3200 number.
Okay, perfect. We will share that again and again. All of the links and all of the email addresses and all of the phone numbers will be available on mass.gov/MCB following today's event. So thank you so much for taking that one. Appreciate that. And then the next question that we have, so do we have any from our phone callers today? We do. Okay, this one is about electronic and hybrid vehicles along with autonomous vehicles. I believe that our team from MCB has done some work in this realm along, I know, with several of you from the MBTA. So it's really not a question, but a comment. Says, I have noticed that with the increase in electronic vehicles on the road, and because of low vision, I cannot see or hear an electric vehicle coming behind me. In addition, the driver may not know of my disability and would expect me to get out of the way. This could be a very unfortunate situation for all. Is there any way your organization could bring this to the attention of the appropriate agencies and to the general public to make them aware? Anyone want to take that question?
Yeah, I can definitely start with that, Carla. So on the MBTA side, we definitely share your concerns regarding the quietness of electric vehicles and the potential safety hazard it creates for people who are blind or low vision and pedestrians in general. To prepare for our planned procurements of electric buses, which we delivered to be, we're going to take delivery of those 2023 or 2024. The MBTA is currently researching pedestrian audio alert systems, especially designed for electric buses. So this past summer, the MBTA conducted a demonstration of such a system on one of its buses for MBTA staff, including members of SWA. The system is installed on LA Metro transit buses, but it was found to have certain deficiencies that MBTA believes are critical for pedestrian safety. So at this point, the MBTA continues to research other products on the market. And once the MBTA finds something that we believe to meet our internal standards, we'll have testing done by customers who are blind and have low vision. So over to you, John Oliveira. I think you had some words on this as well.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, this is actually a situation that I'm rather familiar with. Back in around 2011 or so, there was a study that was done over at the Volpe Transportation Building, which I was involved in. And they asked me to stand in a parking lot while they drove these quiet cars to us, these hybrid vehicles, and to see how close they could get before we said stop. And based on that information that they got from the individuals testing that day, and the consumer groups also have advocated heavily on this issue. There seemed to be a high number of individuals that were being hit by these quiet cars, the hybrid vehicles back in 2010 and 12, 13. So there was quite an advocacy push on this. So the United States National Highway and Traffic and Safety Administration passed a rule that said that vehicles weighing less than 10,000 pounds had to have a system that was emitting some kind of sound on board the vehicle when the vehicle traveled less than 19 miles an hour. So that rule is in place. The companies are putting different audio type systems in place. There hasn't, depending on the model and the vehicle, there is, it could be a different type of sound, but it is when the vehicle is moving forward or backing up less than 19 miles an hour, then this sound would be triggered. So the cars before this, that were built before, say, 2012, they would not have anything, but there weren't that many hybrid cars around before that. There were some, but not as many. But so you still have to use the best, as we talked about earlier, best orientation skills possible and best using your hearing as best you can. But they are very quiet, and it's very hard to detect them if they are starting from a stopped position at a corner. There is no signal that you'll get audio-wise if they don't have this audio system on board. So as more and more new cars are on the road, the system problem should get better as systems continue to be developed. But it is a federal rule, and the automakers are complying with it and are still in various types of systems available to emit the audio sound. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Oliveira. We appreciate you sharing and know that those vehicles are on the horizon. So thank you very much. All right. And this is also a common question. And I believe it will be for you, Katie, and your team from the MBTA. It's about a blind access card. We have someone who has a card that expires in November. How do I renew it? And what documents do I need to provide?
Yeah, happy to answer that. Folks can go and renew their cards in person at the trolley card store. I would suggest, however, that folks call a customer support to renew their passes. And either way, you do not have to provide any further documentation because you provided that the first time around. So.
Okay, thank you, Katie. And are they able to do that online is another question.
There is not an online application.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, and I believe we have time for maybe one or two more. We are nearing the 1:30 mark, but another question that we are getting is about another ride program, and it's really a question and an idea, but it says, will you do a ride program with taxis? Mahor, you be able to answer that one?
We're always looking to add more providers to our program. In fact, we are actually expecting to add a couple in the coming year. So we're hoping that once that's finalized, we can soon announce those providers. But as far as researching and adding more providers to the mix, that's something that we're always continuously looking.
Right. Thank you, Mahor. And Katie, we had someone in the chat who actually said that they just called and renewed their card during this meeting. So good job. Thank you so much for sharing this information, everyone. I think we have one more question and then we will wrap up. And this is for all of our community who takes buses. Here's the question. And the question is, how is the need for new bus routes assessed? There are many places in Massachusetts that can't be reached walking. Laura, do you have an answer to that question?
Sure. That is actually really.
Go ahead. Sorry about that, Laura.
No problem. That is actually a really timely question. So generally speaking, every couple of years, the MBTA service planning team takes a look at all of our bus routes and their schedules and makes minor to moderate adjustments depending on ridership and travel patterns. It's pretty rare that new routes are added. unless there's a brand new station that's been recently constructed or a major commercial development. However, as we speak, the MBTA is sort of deep into a project called the Bus Network Redesign. And for the first time in decades, the T is looking at making some significant fundamental changes to the way bus routes are arranged and how routes interact with one another. This is something that we are we feel really strongly that we want feedback from riders, particularly people with disabilities. So there will be some sample proposals coming out later this fall, and I would really ask that everybody take some time familiarizing yourself with them and offering feedback. There's actually a public meeting coming up on October 27th at 6 p.m. It's virtual. You can find all that information on our website. So definitely, if you ride the T or you think you would like to ride the T, if there is a route near you, please learn more about that effort.
All right, thank you, Laura. And we are right at the 1:30 mark. We did take as many questions as we could and tried to filter those so that they would answer many common inquiries, complaints, challenges, and also celebrations of our experience with all of the services at the MBTA. So thank you to our partners at the MBTA for sharing your answers to those questions, for sharing all of the information about what you do for our community today during your presentations. It was great to learn more, and we are grateful that you offer so many ways for our community to give feedback and to participate in the process as you look into these transformations for the people we serve at MCB. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Can you email,
And just one moment, we will wrap up and I will let you know where to find this recording today and also to access all of the information that was shared. So please visit, if you haven't already, our website at mass.gov/MCB. We will have the video posted, the recording from this event, along with a transcript from this event. We have all of the handouts that were shared and referenced in the chat. We have the presentation that was available today. We have a handout with all of the regional transit authority information and more. So if you have not visited our website, please do so, mass.gov/MCB. You can email us at MCB anytime at mcbinfo@mass.gov or call us at 1-800-392-6450. Our counselors and our team at MCB are also available anytime. So please reach out to the individual that you work with at our agency. We are all happy to work with you and to share information with our partners from the MBTA and with our partners from other state agencies. So thank you again. We hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you to our CART provider, and thank you to our interpreter team, Janice and Joan. We appreciate your work today. And thank you all for being here. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day, everybody. Great job, team.
Thank you.